G'day everyone, Duckville here. We're going to have a look at a match from the Korean server. This is going to be between pretty much my favorite player in the whole entire StarCraft universe. Up the top here, we are going to be playing with a EGHuk, of course, not actually EGHuk, it's EGHuk. I'm a bit surprised that he hasn't been able to convince some Blizzard dude to give him a bit of a name change, or perhaps even get his own account. I don't know what's going on there, but he's going to be playing here on Metalopolis from the 12 o'clock position. Of course, we are in Season 4, where we've got Metalopolis back on the table. Of course, many Zergs would like that. Of course, it was actually taken off the table because it was a bit, apparently, a bit unfair for Protoss in Terran late game. A little bit weird going on, I don't really know, but either way, we've got AriA down the bottom here in the 6 o'clock position. Going to be starting out with a extract, a trick to get that extra drone cranking out, as we can see up there at 11 of 10. But just on this replay, of course, if you watch the Huk stream, as I'm sure many people do, unfortunately I haven't been able to lately, but you would have seen this game. I believe it was played yesterday being the 30th of October? I don't know. That's in Korean time, by the way, not American time. That would have been the day before for you guys. But anyway, this is actually a game that was played on Huk's stream, and of course he then has actually linked it on his Twitter. So if you want to jump on and grab this yourself, you can jump onto Twitter and actually have a look there. You can grab it off one of his recent tweets. Of course, Twitter for Huk is Loranger Chris. So if you want to jump on and have a look yourself, you can, of course, and I will actually endeavour to actually link this one in the game description so you can have a look yourself. But this is apparently a pretty epic game. It obviously, as you can see from your YouTube timeline, it obviously goes for a little while. Looks as if we're going to have a start out here from AriA being very safe, grabbing that spawning pool and the extractor, not actually going down for that quick expansion at all. Very surprising to see that on Metalopolis, but as we said, we'll probably see perhaps some shifts in the way that this map was played to the previous way it was played, but we'll see what happens there. It looks as if we're going to get that double gas going pretty quickly there for Huk. He's got the Cyber on the way. Zealot is going to come out to block this front door here. A bit surprising that Huk didn't actually use this side to as the little pathway to get into the base. Of course, some people will say that it's a little bit easier to actually to sort of haul off this part here instead of actually getting your Zealot in the right position there. But you know, Huk's a pro. He can do what he wants. Don't tell him what to do. Speaking of which, this probe, meanwhile, just doing a bit of scouting there, did get inside the Zerg base. Let's have a look at what he saw. Actually didn't get too far in there at all. Just saw the creep and probably saw those Zerglings and said, hey buddy, I'm out of here. So he did indeed run away, got at least the scouting of exactly where his opponent is, and will obviously get back inside the base here, as we can see. Just Mineral walking through that Zealot. Nice little bit of micro there from Huk. Going to try and keep this probe alive and perhaps try and lure in those Zerglings, but he's not going to be able to. The Zealot having to be a little bit careful. There is that sentry out at the top of the ramp, but of course you don't want to go too far. It could get a little bit messy, but a second probe has come out here from Huk. Is going to try and get in a little scout out on what is happening here. Looks as if he may actually be coming down here to put down a pylon spotted by that Overlord, and now with a Zergling on that probe, he's not going to actually get too much done, and AriA is just going to make sure that this probe does not get what he wants to do. And as we can see here, Huk actually going straight for that expansion there, taking the natural, and he's going to be getting, it looks like, I would assume, so this is going to be a one gate expo into that second and third gate. So he's going to get out probably a bunch of sentries just to make sure he can fend off the front of the ramp here. A little bit surprising actually that Huk hasn't actually put these down here at the natural to help wall off this particular position. But of course, once you get out those few sentries, which he will definitely start pumping out here in just a moment, you don't really need them as much, and it can help with making sure that you don't get blocked down at all, which can be a little bit of a problem sometimes on this map. Depending on how you wall off, you can get like a forge here, a gateway here, you can, you know, all sorts of stuff covering along here to protect this natural expansion. And what, as a side effect of that, what can happen is that if you've got a bunch of stalkers out here waiting to defend the front of the natural expansion, you can actually have a troublesome time getting back into your base if Mutalisks come in, or if there's a Nidus or something like that that actually comes into the back of your base. So you got to be careful about these sorts of things when you are planning out your base. Got to get your SimCity hat on and make sure that you've played SimCity 2000 and you didn't destroy everything. Love that game, it's a bit of fun. But looks as if AriA is going to get that lair going up as quickly as possible, I would say, judging from the looks of what's happening here. We've got that second gas here, going to go for a third and a fourth here. Looks like it's going to be something to do with roaches at the start of the game, I would suspect. As we can see, missile attacks just on the way now. Around about just under half done there. And once he gets this extra gas income, he's going to be able to really start pumping out those roaches and as well. He's certainly going to need it, because it looks as if we've got a fourth gate here from HUK. It looks as if he's going to have to deal with an Overlord, just scouting in to try and find out exactly what is happening there. Good movement there from AriA to send it in. So around about that 7 to 8 minute mark, when you chuck in that Overlord, just to see exactly what your opponent is up to. Of course, can be difficult to do against both Terran and Protoss, but of course, if you can get it in and you can spot exactly what is happening here, you can get some good intel and actually discover exactly what your opponent's going for. Now, AriA, as we said here, starting to really crank out those roaches. We've got roach speed on the way. That is going to be done in time for perhaps around about a 10 in-game minute timing, but it looks as if he's going to have to deal with one small problem here. Just one random zealot has just wandered down to this 5 o'clock position. He's going to take some shots at this hatchery. Probably not going to get it down. As we can see, the 6 roaches now coming in and taking that guy out. He's not going to have a good day at work. So we've now got HUK, I would say, looking from the way that HUK is playing this at the moment, he's really keeping his economy going nicely. We've got a Twilight Council and a Forge going down. We've got that Robo as well, going to bring out an Observer just in case there's any borrowed Roach play, which could be quite annoying for HUK to deal with, of course. We've got no cannons at the front of the natural expansion. Very odd to see that from a Protoss player, but of course, as we mentioned before, if you've got good enough control and if you utilize the sentries well enough, you can actually just forego building the cannons. And of course, if you can deny scouting like HUK is doing now, that's actually really good as well. Let's just have a look at what exactly AriA can see. Can see the 4 gates there, can see the Robo, has no idea about the Forge and the Twilight Council, of course. The Twilight going to grab Blink, there it is indeed, and he is going to go for a third base very quickly here as well. So HUK is actually going to go just for that third straight away, and he's going to take advantage of the fact that AriA is just looking to take his own third pretty quickly here as well. And as we can see on the drone count here, we actually have 9 drones about to pop out here for AriA, so he's certainly going to start really beefing up that economy. And now with roach speed done, he can flutter his way across the map, and it looks as if these roaches are doing their little skipping motion, and they're going to jump across the map and try and get into this third base here of HUK. Of course, is going to be a little bit of trouble because HUK has walled off just a tiny bit here. The problem is going to be that he doesn't actually have a huge force, but of course, we'll see what happens here. HUK grabbing a couple of force fields there. Beautiful force field donut over those roaches. He is going to be able to block out some of them at the back. They're not going to be able to get into the fight properly. Looks as if these ones inside are also going to be stuck here and reinforcing that force field wall there, doing a great job. All of the sentries, in fact, going down, and an Immortal comes into play. And with their extra range, they do a great job against roaches these days. But as you can see, forcing that attack back, we've got the 2 observers just overhead in case he needs to detect those units underground. And it looks as if this third base is going to get up quite nicely here for HUK. But just having a look at the production tab, look at what is coming out here for AriA. He has a total of 9 Mutalisks just popping out now. The Spire is not actually grabbing its upgrade for the flyer attacks, but he is going to have a whole heap of these mutas here. These are going to be used, of course, to try and actually pressure HUK. Now with that, with the 3rd expansion, HUK is going to have to be careful with how he distributes his forces. Of course, you don't want to get too thin. You don't want to have all of these stalkers over here guarding this this 3rd base. You also don't want them to be sitting in here in the main just in case of an attack. So probably going to look to see maybe a couple of cannons out here for HUK. In fact, he's grabbing the +1 to armor. The +1 to weapons is already done. Getting a 2nd forge there, and here come those mutas. We'll keep an eye on those, but the 4th base for AriA is now going up, and here come those mutas for AriA is just busting into the main base here. These probes have got no way to defend themselves. In fact, they're going to have to retreat, head for the hills, they say, and they are running now. A couple of stalkers now warping in here for HUK. He's going to be able to take care of some of these Mutalisks, maybe, but he's going to have to get back and actually get some reinforcing units across here as well. But more and more Mutalisks popping out here for AriA. The stalkers finally getting into the mix there, blinking up into the main, and they are going to be able to force out that attack. But that has done certainly a lot of damage. Look at all these probes just coming back to their mining operations. Of course, a little bit of trouble when you actually have that kind of problem coming along. So Warp Prism now on the way from HUK as well. He's just going to send that down to the Zerg base. Looks as if this is up and running quite nicely here. As we said before, a little bit surprised there aren't too many cannons here, but what he is doing is getting a whole heap of Blink Stalkers out. These guys are, of course, going to be able to deal decently well with the Mutalisk. You don't want to say that they're a perfect counter to a big flock of Mutalisks, but what he can do is just keep the Mutalisks at bay for some time until some extra power units come out, such as the Archon, such as the Templar, and of course with a few storms you can actually just rip apart these Mutalisks. And as we can see here, they have actually been torn apart there. Some of the Mutalisks going down. This observer just actually keeping an eye on what is going on and the positionings there, actually just keeping an eye on exactly where Huk's observers are. So he's got the two just through the middle of the map, and they're doing a great job of keeping an eye on exactly what is happening here. But the Warp Prism is now going to try and come into play, but it looks as if AriA is well prepared for that. Just going to try and warp in a few units. I don't think so, and in fact the Mut is now coming along here. This Warp Prism is being taken for a ride, and he's going to not get too much done. But now finally grabbing some extra cannons here is Huk. Going to need a couple to just make sure that this base is adequately defended. As we said, you don't want to be too overzealous with actually putting all of your units in the one base. But now looking at this impending swarm sweeping across the map, we've got Mutaling here from AriA. He does have a bunch of roaches here. He's currently sitting on 192 supply. These roaches do have 1/1 on their upgrades. Of course, the Mutalisks do now have +1 to their air attack as well. +2 to air attack is also on the way. And melee weapons, here we go. Big engagement here. We've got some Archons at the front. They do get taken out pretty quickly here. There is still one remaining. The Stalkers are going to have to blink back to try and deal with those Mutalisks here. Meanwhile, down to the side, the Archon, is still in the mix along with an Immortal and a couple of Sentries here. Is going to be able to deal with those, but where have those Mutalisks gone? They have been forced out by the Stalkers, and it looks as if the fight is going to go the way of Huk. Of course, this Immortal bringing a great deal of power to defending against these roaches here, but it looks as if Huk will be able to hold them out for the moment here. The Mutalisks actually just looks as if they just ran straight away because they were actually under threat from those Blink Stalkers. And in fact, just looking at that Muta count here, we're currently sitting at 8, but he does have 11 on the way. They have all just hatched. We've got another big group of roaches and lings just popping out now. This is going to be a bit of a problem for Huk. Look at that conga line of Stalkers just marching around the map. We've got some more Templar warping in. He's going to need some really nice gas income if he is going to keep that up. But just look at this again, a big swarm of units now sweeping across the map. 196 of the food there for AriA. He's got to deal with 131 supply of Huk. He's got decent upgrades just on the way here for Huk, though. Of course, we've got 1 armor and 1 to the weapons as well. Here he comes now, bringing in the lings inside the base. Going to perhaps try and distract Huk while he takes the attack to the third base, but it looks as if the Mut is now coming inside. Stalkers blinking around. We've got all sorts of damage going on here. Roach is actually being held out of the fight quite decently by a few of those force fields, and it looks as if Huk will hold this for the time being. The Templar were taken out there by a couple of strikes from those Mutalisks, but decently held there from Huk. He didn't lose too much. He only lost a few of those units, now resupplying some of those forces. The Storm is now done. He's got Immortals on the way, and +2 to the armor is now done, and 3 is on the way. So Huk is going to have some really powerful units once these Storms get up and running. Meanwhile, just having a look at exactly what is going on here for AriA, we've actually got some switching around of the various drones and everything here. They got to switch around, building a lot of these spine crawlers here, and it looks as if he's going to harass just a tiny bit here inside the main of Huk. Going to take out that pylon that's inside that little gas area. Still not exactly sure what the whole point of that was, but it does deny a little bit of vision, which is, of course, a good way to come into your opponent's base. Just having a look at the vision, speaking of which, look at this from AriA, actually spreading out his overlords in beautiful positions here. Actually has full vision of the left side of the map. There is no way that Huk is going to be able to get past that without being spotted. In fact, even through the middle, he's actually got a heap of coverage through the middle side of the map. So Huk is going to have to deal with a lot if he is going to try and commence an attack without being spotted. I don't think he's actually going to go for something like that. It looks as if he is actually going to go for something like the gold base here, just sort of waiting on exactly if there is going to be another tech switch here from Huk. He's currently sitting on double upgrades going at the moment. +3 to the armor is just about done. +2 to weapons is on the way. Immortal still pumping out here for Huk. He is in fact going to go for the fourth base over here. He's going to take this, then perhaps while he's doing that, look to take the gold expansion as well. Looks as if the Mutas are a little bit confused as to what to do. We've got Banelings in the mix now as well. A whole huge bunch of roaches here. Looks as if the Banelings are trying to detonate on those Stalkers before they can warp in. Look at all these Overlords with their Banelings inside them as well. Gonna have to see some good Storms. There they are. And then some Blink as well from Huk. It looks as if he's going to try and drop the banelings on top of that big force. Huck losing so much here. AriA actually is doing a fantastic job there. The roach is taking care of a lot of the forces on the ground. The stalkers are the only things left here, but with some good blink micro, he should be able to keep them alive for the moment. No, those overlords don't have any more units inside them. They're actually being a bit of a decoy here for all of these stalkers. But just looking at exactly what is going on here, we've got the numbers of AriA still way up at the 200 mark. He is trying to keep up his production along with getting that gold base up and running. The roach is retreating as well. They got their, let's just have a look at the upgrades. Still sitting on 1-1 for those roaches at the moment. +2 to Carapace, and the missile attacks are on the way. More banelings now morphing in as well. We've got some infestors in the mix, of course. They've got their fungal growth ready to roll. And once they actually start getting in here, the stalkers will be quite in a little bit of trouble there, because of course once you get the fungals down, they have no way to actually blink away from the overlords when they actually try and drop in the banelings to say hello. So Huck is going to have to do something pretty radical here quite shortly here, because otherwise AriA is going to be sitting in a beautiful spot with his gold up and running, and no doubt the Broodlord tech will be on the way very, very soon. In fact, the Great Aspire is already done. +3 to air weapons is on the way. Here comes an attack through the middle, just trying to make sure that Huck is zoned out of that gold base here. In fact, looking to come through into the natural expansion here. This could be an interesting attack depending on the angles here. Looks as if the overlords are coming from the side. The fungal is missed on those stalkers. Looks as if we're going to get some storms on top of those roaches. Beautiful work there by Huck. Fungals on top of the stalkers, and he's losing stalkers left, right, and center. In fact, may even lose that natural expansion there because there are just so many units here. It looks as if Huck is going to hold, perhaps just going to need to take out those infestors if he wants to make the best of this attack here. But the Zealot's now taking care of some of those leftover roaches. Meanwhile, the gateway just at the front there is taken out. That's going to allow streams of units to come through from AriA. And in fact, as we can see here, look at all of this. We got Zerglings coming in left, right, and center. These guys are going to cause a lot of damage to Huck. This is where he's going to need some extra storms, but as we can see on the unit tab, there aren't actually any units other than a couple of Zealots and a few Stalkers out for Huck, so he's actually in quite a lot of trouble here. One saving grace perhaps is that there are about 6 cannons here at this third base, and if he can fend off some of this attack, he'll be in a nice spot, but he's really going to have a lot of trouble dealing with any of this. It looks as if the Stalkers are coming from both sides here, and they are going to try and surround a little bit of a blink micro here from Huck. He's actually trying to keep his production up and running. +1 to shields on the way. Have a look at that. And +3 to weapons coming through here. That's really going to help out. Of course, the Zealot's doing great damage to those Lings. And it looks as if AriA has just sort of punched himself out here because he's actually just starting to run a bit low on his units. But it looks as if the with the base is well defended here, and the Immortals now coming back into the foray, he's going to be able to deal with these roaches quite easily. And just having a look at the unit production, we've actually got only Broodlords, a couple of Corruptors, a few Banelings on the way for AriA. He's got that gold base, and here are the Broodlords that, well, the one Broodlord we're looking at the moment here. There are going to be a couple more in a minute, no doubt, because we did see, here it is, he's going to select those, chuck them into Broodlords, and then he's going to have a party town, because as we can see, Huck is actually just struggling a little bit on the economy here. He's just a tiny bit behind where AriA is at the moment, of course. Picking up this expansion would be a good idea, just to make sure he can supplement his gas income, of course. As a Protoss, it takes a lot of work to get your power units up and running. Of course, we're talking about the Templar, we're talking about Colossus, and perhaps even if we get to it, there could be some Void Rays and carriers. I don't know. Apparently no one uses carriers, so they're going to be removed. I don't know what's going on with that. But AriA now is actually losing a few of these overlords here. Huck finally getting out on the map. In fact, actually having the ability to get out on the map. He's had to deal with a lot of pressure throughout the time so far on this in this game. But it looks as if he is going to stabilize for the moment here, slowly getting his supply count back up and running. We've got a huge amount of Zealots actually in the mix here for Huck. Just actually having a look at the composition of AriA. We've got those Broodlords, of course, that are down to the side. We've currently got a total of 6 Broodlords in the mix, and he's got a bunch of, just a sort of random mixture of these units here. Roach, Ling, a couple of Infestors, and some Banelings, and, you know, Mutalisk. We'll just throw anything in there. He's probably got the kitchen sink floating around somewhere, but we'll see what happens here. He's got Huck will need to do some damage against these side bases here. He really needs to get this one down if he can. He is trying to take this 5th base here. That'd be really nice if he could get in on that, but having a look here, we've got an Overlord just popping in to say hi. The probes do escape just in time. Looks as if they are going to take down this Overlord before it can get too much damage done, and the Banelings also taken care of quite nicely there by Huck as well. bringing out those probes, saving them, and they are going to be quite happy with that job. It looks as if we've now finally got a Prism coming in here from HUK. Gonna have to be careful about those Overlords spotting everything, of course. Looks as if AriA is aware that that attack may come through, or is he? No, he's not. He's actually moving into position to possibly push up this right-hand side of the map here. The Warp Prism actually not sure what it's actually trying to do here. HUK does look as if he's trying to get into position to try and stop this attack. Not really sure where these Templar are going. They're going to be in a lot of trouble. They do get in good position to put down some Storms, though, actually removing a lot of those Lings, which were going to be a bit of trouble here. The problem now for HUK is that he only has, I say only, but it's a bit of a relative term here. We've got 16 of these Stalkers, in fact, warping in a few more. We've now got 23. Should be able to do good damage against those Brutalers here, but some Fungals will make that a little bit hard to deal with. And these Roaches on the ground, they do have +2/2 to both their armor and their weapons. Here we go. The fight is on. Some great feedbacks there from HUK. Now pushing the Stalkers into position against the Broodlords. The Broodlords trying to retreat onto the high ground here. It's not going to matter too much because HUK will be able to blink underneath them. In fact, taking out all of the Broodlords there. Brilliant work. He should be able to really stabilize and get himself into a great position here. A couple of Immortals still doing huge amounts of damage to those Roaches. May want to try and just get these Stalkers out of the fight so he can keep them alive to fight another day. And it looks as if HUK is now starting to look quite nice at the moment here. He's got this 5th base up and running. We can see a warp in down at the main base here of AriA. Going to have to deal with this. The Roaches, of course, will come along. They're going to take a lot of damage from these Zealots, but nice little burrow micro there from AriA, actually keeping a lot of those Roaches alive, given what damage could have occurred there from those Zealots. But it looks as if AriA is going to keep a lot of these units in the mix here. We're actually sitting quite high on the Roach count. We're currently sitting at 48 Roaches, 16 Lings, and we've got a few more Lings on the way as well. We got 12 Lings. Have a look at that is absolutely insane. We got +2 to shields on the way from HUK. Just don't mind if I do, he says. And he's still going to pump out those Immortals. We're currently looking at the Immortal count at around about 4 at the moment. He's probably going to need a few more of those if he wants to make a dent in this huge Roach army. And speaking of which, these guys are not afraid. They're just going to walk in right into the front here. Interestingly enough, the Cybernetics core is up for grabs. If he could take that out, he would actually be stopping the Stalker production, but goes for the Robo instead to get that down. The +2 to shields is already done, so he's not going to be able to stop that from completing. Have a look at these upgrades on these units here. All of these Immortals in the mix now doing 65 damage. Of course, the Archons also doing 47 splash damage as well to bio units, so they are doing a heap of damage here. The Roaches will have to retreat for the time being, and it looks as if despite the discrepancy in the supply tab, HUK is going to be looking quite nice for the moment here. Would love to see some DTs brought into the mix here. Of course, it looks as if AriA is well prepared with a Spore Crawler at some of these bases, but if he could actually get the DTs in and snipe down these Spore Crawlers, he would be in a great spot. Looks as if he's just going to bring in a few Zealots as well, just trying to take care of some of these defenses, make AriA think, hello buddy, I'm actually possibly in your base. And it looks as if this Zealot is going to try and run away to fight another day. A few Roaches will come out to try and say something about that, but just looking at exactly how the situation is for both of these players, we got HUK bringing in a few more pylons to make sure he can hit his max as soon as he can. We've got that fleet beacon being built, so we could see a mothership or perhaps a switch to carriers. We'll see what happens here. This Warp Prism, again, doing a great job swinging around the map, putting down some pressure all over the place for HUK, and it looks as if the one remaining forge is now spinning up, getting +3 to shield upgrades. This is going to be crazy if that actually gets done. It's probably been about, I don't know, maybe 50 or 60 casts since I've actually seen that happen, but have a look at what AriA's got here. We have a huge mix of units here. Of course, these will be able to deal with all of those main ground forces. Of course, the Immortals do good damage against the Ultralisks as well. The Banelings will be looking to probably take out as many of those of the Stalkers as possible, but it looks as if a distraction is coming in here from AriA, actually bringing in a lot of his forces here in the Overlords to try and come into that base. But the main attack is occurring up here at the 3rd base of HUK. It looks as if he's going to have to deal with a huge count of those Ultralisks here. We've got a total of 8, I believe that is, but there are just a few too many units here, of course, and it looks as if HUK is going to have to be a little bit mindful of all of these units, but it looks as if we're going to have a big battle here. The Banelings coming in through the side, actually hitting on those Immortals. Not a good job there by AriA. He's actually going to lose a lot of this because, of course, the Stalkers do plus damage to armored. The Immortals are going to do the extra damage there as well, and it looks as if HUK will be able to take care of a lot of these Ultralisks. A Storm going down on the back. The Archons as well doing heaps of damage here. Looks as if AriA is going to be in a little bit of trouble if he's not careful. He is going to have to deal with a mothership that is just about to pop out from HUK. I'm assuming, where is that? That's actually... Alright, it's popping up here at the fourth base here. Looks as if some roaches will try and have something to say about that. They're going to be able to get into position and at least scout out what is happening here. But it looks as if AriA is going to switch back into the Broodlords, I would say. We've just had a whole heap of these Corruptors switching in. Now, we don't want to see him do a Nest T and just switch into a bajillion Broodlords and have nothing to cover them. So we'll see what he does go for here. We've got 12 Broodlords on the way. We've got a total of 2 Ultralisks just coming through as well. They're going to be out in just a second, and their extra upgrade to their armor will be done shortly as well. Meanwhile, HUK looking to take this gold base. Not really sure how far that is going to go. Of course, the one problem with taking that gold on this map against the Zerg is that these Broodlords can float over this position here and just sit off here and take out your probes and take out everything. And as we can see here, the Zerglings will be able to spot, given that they are sitting on that watchtower, sitting up the top of that tower in a treehouse. They will be able to see what is going on here for HUK, and HUK does have the mothership out. So this could be very interesting. Some perfect vortex usage will be the go here from HUK. And have a look at all of these Broodlords here. We've got 14 plus a couple of extras about to come through as well. Looks as if HUK is going to try and have a shot at getting this base up and running. I dare say it's not going to happen, but here come the units of HUK. We're going to bring in a bunch of archons here. We've got 5 archons, of course, and they do have their 3-3-3. That's right, we've got 3-3-3 to all of these units here for HUK. So he's going to have a lot of armor on these units, and there is the Vortex, in fact, flying the Broodlords and everything into the Vortex. This is going to be some sort of Archon toilet here. He's going to want to get all of these units inside as quickly as possible. Not really sure what the go is here from HUK. Here we go, blasting away at some of these units. Storms going down on top of everything here. HUK actually trying to do what he can. The Corruptors, Broodlords taken out. Ultralisks taken out. Everything has just been absolutely decimated here by AriA. Have a look at that. He's actually gone down to around about 80 supply at one point here, remaxing as fast as he can. Of course, he's got that powerful Zerg utility there where you can remax just as quick as you like. But have a look at that, 114 Zerglings on the cards here for AriA. I dare say that is not going to actually get much done, given the Archons that are in the mix. I'm pretty sure they almost one-shot. Yeah, they one-shot the Zerglings that they target, and this is not going to go well for AriA, I would say. Looks as if HUK is going to bring in a few Zealots as well. Of course, these guys do well against those Zerglings as well. One Broodlord just coming along to say hi. In fact, now with the Stalkers actually just out of the fight for the moment here, the Broodlord will be able to do a bit of damage here. HUK is going to need to keep these Stalkers alive if he is going to stay in the fight here. Looks as if some Overseers are trying to play as well. Unfortunately, they can't do much themselves. And just having a look at exactly what is going on here, the mothership is being rebuilt. We've got a Void Ray on the way from HUK, and it looks as if things have once again just really started to stabilize for these guys. HUK is going to still have to deal with a Broodlord, one lonely Broodlord. Where is he? He's over here. But the problem for AriA is, look at this, we've got no mining, and just about done. This one is just about done as well, and this one is getting quite low as well. So HUK's going to have to, if he can control this, in fact, if he can keep this gold, if he can hold up just for the time being while this gold gets up and running, perhaps take out some of these units before, in fact, taking out that Broodlord would be the ideal thing. But it looks as if HUK is going to have to be careful with where he goes here, splitting up the units a bit. These Ultralisks will be able to hack through some of these Zealots, but not before the Zealots do what they can. Looks as if the Stalkers down to the back are going to need to be careful as well. Just trying to do as much damage before the Ultralisks get in their faces, and it looks as if they are able to take it out. Some Corruptors now coming into the mix. Zealots over to the right-hand side have been destroyed. Looks as if a Templar is now coming in, putting down feedback for no random reason, but it looks as if the Ultras are going to push through here. Of course, they have no way to deal with this one remaining Void Ray, and the Void Ray could be the saving grace here for HUK. There are no more Corruptors, and in fact, none that are actually coming out here for AriA, so he is going to be able to take out these ground forces, albeit after quite a long time, and it looks as if he's going to try and get rid of the rest of these Ultras. In fact, not actually getting it done. This very nice Spine Crawler wall off to the side is going to help out AriA quite a bit, but as we said before, there is almost no mining going on, so AriA currently sitting on an income of 700 minerals and around about 200 gas, but of course that's not going to mean too much when you only have these small forces in the mix here for defense and for attack. Meanwhile, Huk is just starting to beef up his own forces. He's really getting into the archons here, getting a couple more in there. He's obviously going to need a bit more gas if he needs to get some more of those out, but as you can see, Huk himself is actually getting quite low. This map is probably going to look to get mined out by both of these players, I would say. Looks as if AriA is going to have something to do about that, though. He's going to try and sweep through the middle here. Not actually going to get inside, of course. He's going to be really worried about the archons, the void ray, of course, the mothership, of course. Because as we said before, realistically, the only thing here for AriA to take care of the mothership and the void ray are those queens. And of course, as we all know, the queens aren't actually that good at taking out motherships last time I checked. He does have 333 on all of these units here. The spine crawlers have uprooted for some reason. Not really sure what they're up to. Perhaps he's going to look to try and... Here he is. He is going to try and push it up into this base here. This could actually work badly here for AriA. He's going to actually choke up some of his forces here, and as we can see, they're actually putting a vortex down right on top of all of this here, and it looks as if AriA is going to try and put some of the spine crawlers into the vortex. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. He is going to actually lose these spine crawlers while the vortex is in operation, and here we go, Archon toilet number 2. The Zerg force is getting absolutely decimated again. These Archons doing their huge amounts of splash damage there with their +3 to armor and their +3 to shields. They will be taking quite a beating from all of these leftover forces of AriA, and GG, AriA has left the game. So what an absolutely brilliant game there from both of these players. Huk actually losing his natural expansion quite early on, almost losing that third base as well, but switching into some decent tech there with the Archons, getting a mothership out to really help with really just sort of segmenting, and obviously the Archon toilet as well to take care of a lot of those units, and actually just playing really efficiently, starving out AriA, and AriA was left with nothing. So great play there by Huk. Coming back from that, I was really a bit unsure about what was going on, but it looks as if he is going to win that one, and just a great play there from Huk. So make sure you go and check out EGHuk on his stream on Team Liquid, and of course if you want to see some more games, let me know and I'll see if I can dig them up. Cheers.